It's good to be back. I tried to take a week off. If you guys didn't notice, or maybe some people have, some people that I talked to, the channel got deleted accidentally by like the AI of YouTube. We had to then get the channel like reviewed and try to get it back. And so I was going to take this week off just to kind of reevaluate things and go forward. But Colts 22-year-old former number 4 overall pick, Anthony Richardson, has been benched. And I want to start by reading Adam Schefter's tweet. A QB change for the Colts. Indianapolis is benching former first round pick Anthony Richardson and turning to veteran Joe Flacco. Sources tell Fowler, ESPN, and me. Coaches met this morning and made a seismic organizational decision to change quarterback. One, that's insane. To make that big of an announcement for this makes it feel like for the rest of the season or even moving forward, it sounds like Anthony Richardson could potentially not be the answer at quarterback that they thought they could have had for the next however many years when they decided to take him. But there's a few things I want to highlight first. First thing I want to highlight is Anthony Richardson's career highlights from college into the NFL. In college, his college career dropbacks, he had 455 college dropbacks. For comparison, Patrick Mahomes had 1,500 college dropbacks. So it just really goes to show you that that was something that was spoken about when he first came into the NFL, is that he, out of everybody that was getting taken, he had the least experience and that he was going to be a project. Now, to the NFL, he has played 10 career games and now he's already benched. And there's something that I want to share with you guys because I obviously this writes itself. Like the content writes itself at the end of the day. And this is the quote. The jokes write itself. And let's just like listen to this here real quick.
Some of them it takes 2-3 years to become a really good player. It's probably the one area where I've seen it, and this is even before me even being in the league, but it's the one area where teams that the pressure for these guys after 1 or 2 years back, 10, 15 years ago, guys would get year 3, 4, 5. Think about it. Terry Bradshaw. He might not have ever played in today's NFL. It took him time in Pittsburgh. We got to let these guys develop and play, and they're going to have some struggles, and then they got to work through the struggles. And eventually their talent, the more they play.
What in the world? So it sounds like you have a plan. You address the media, you address the team. It sounds like the entire organization is on the same page. That's right after the draft. That's the GM of the Colts, Chris Ballard, sitting down and saying, we know that Anthony Richardson is a raw prospect, but we are okay with that. And we know that there's going to be some lumps with that. And we know that it's not going to be a year-long process or a 2-year-long process. It might take 4 years to get Anthony Richardson where we really want him and mold him up and make him our future. After 10 games in the NFL, obviously last year got cut short due to injury. He missed some games this year due to injury as well. He's been in and out of the lineup. 10 games and in and out of the lineup, they call it quits. A seismic change in the organization. First thing I'm thinking about, like while all this is going on, is how the hell does Chris Ballard still have a job with the Colts? Let's go through his QB carousel since his time with the Colts. Jacoby Brissett, 30 starts. Carson Wentz, 17 starts. Andrew Luck, 16 starts. That was towards the end of his career. Phillip Rivers, 16 starts. Minshew, 13 starts. Matt Ryan, 12 starts. Anthony Richardson, 10 starts. Sam Ehlinger, 3 starts. Joe Flacco, 2 starts. He'll be the starter for the rest of the season. Nick Foles, 2 starts. Brian Hoyer, 1 start. And then Tolzer, which I don't even know who that is, 1 start. At what point is Ballard responsible for being in charge of this football team? I think everybody really loved the idea of Anthony Richardson and what he could possibly be, and I think that they probably do have the right coach to shape him into something that they could be long term. But if you had everybody on the same page, you knew what it was going to take. How do you call it quits after 10 games? Like, let's just call it spade a spade. The Colts, even with Joe Flacco this season, aren't going to win a Super Bowl. What's the one knock on Anthony Richardson? He needs reps and he needs to develop and he needs to learn on the job. That's the main thing. It's hard because Anthony Richardson has not been playing well at all. I'm going to share this tweet from Austin Gale. Among 192 quarterbacks with 160 dropbacks in their first 10 career starts since 2000, Anthony Richardson ranks 187th in completion rate. Josh Allen ranks 177th, just 10 spots or 2% above Richardson. There's two ways I look at that tweet, though, because I'm defending him. I'm also saying that he's not playing well. Josh Allen had also had completion accuracy problems early on in his career, and he was able to obviously overcome that. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the entire NFL. I'm not saying Anthony Richardson is Josh Allen, but can he be 50% of Josh Allen? Because if you're 50% of Josh Allen, you're really special. And I think that with proper development and time, that could be a possibility. I'm not 100% sure, but the more I want to go into this as well, and I'm going to share like a few more things here. I'm going to start with the Michael Pittman Jr. reaction of the quarterback change, which I just thought was absolutely ridiculous. So let me go in here.
Quarterbacks. Like, how did you find out?
Well, I first found out through social media, but then I messaged somebody from our front office like to see if it was confirmed, and that it was.
And then how were you formally told, I guess?
Well, I mean, everybody's seen it, so we haven't necessarily talked about it, but everybody kind of knows, obviously.
Okay, that's one. Now, I want to show Josh Downs' reaction as well. Let me turn this up.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, Joe's like 40 years old, so he only has so many more years, I'd say. So yeah, I mean, AR is 22 or 23, so I mean, he's still the number 4 overall pick, and he's just gonna learn from this, and he's gonna get better. So I know he's gonna start. I mean,
right now, the only thing that I'm thinking about is this is an absolutely organizational disaster from the top down. If you wanted to go ahead and bench Anthony Richardson, I think the way that he's been playing, there's nothing wrong with doing that. If you think that there's a guy in the locker room who gives you a better opportunity to win, or if you think Anthony Richardson needs to take a step back, see the game from the sideline, slow things down, and be like, hey, we want you to learn from Joe for a little bit, and let's just see what happens from there. Instead, Anthony Richardson's quote was, Shane didn't even really tell him what was going on. They just pretty much told him they were going with Joe. So I think that from an organizational standpoint, you owe that investment in that top 5 pick, he went 4th, an explanation on the plan that's going to be going forward. Because right now, if you look at what the Colts are doing, it seems like they, one, have lost the locker room. And at this point, look at their players. Like in those clips, like their players don't look thrilled. They're figuring out on Twitter. Michael Pittman Jr. said that they haven't talked about it like formally yet. How in the world do you go and bench your quarterback, who seems like everybody really loves him in that locker room, and not address the team, get everybody in the organization on the same page before you go ahead and like talk to the media? Let's say bad organizations are going to stay bad organizations, but you have to be organic in situations like this. Otherwise, it's going to rub everybody the wrong way. That's why everybody's on two sides of the situation, because it's really hard to defend what Anthony Richardson has done up to this point because I don't think he's been playing well. And I don't think that there's any qualms about that. I don't think anybody's saying he's playing great. I think more of what it is the first original clip that I showed of Chris Ballard right after the draft with Shane Steichen. We don't need him to be Superman. Not a lot of guys are Superman. This might take 2, 3, 4 years. Then stick to your word. Like, if this was a change that could be made that automatically was like, okay, these guys are Super Bowl contenders. Okay, so be it. It is what it is. They still might not even be a playoff team with Joe Flacco at the helm. So what's the difference if you take the lumps, you take everything that's good and bad with Anthony Richardson, and you really let him develop this year and let him make those mistakes and let him do everything that you need to do? Doesn't seem like the players hate him. Like, if the players were over the moon that he got benched, I think that we would have been able to kind of read in between the lines and be like, you know what, like, those guys were actually like in a spot where they were like, we need a change. Like, we don't have a shot. Seems like Anthony Richardson has the buy-in of the locker room. And it feels like right now, the locker room, Anthony Richardson, Josh Downs, all these guys who are in the locker room, Quentin Nelson, like, he had a good quote. At what point is there just like a big disconnect, and moving forward for the rest of the season, like, this could be a literal disaster? Something that Shane Steichen said to the media was, Shane Steichen on the team, if the team is unified on the decision to bench Anthony Richardson, I can't speak for our team. That is just a red flag. I know some people were like, oh, like, it's not his job to know what each player thinks, like, blah, blah, blah. It is. You're the head of the organization. You're in charge of that locker room. You're in charge of the vibes. Everybody might not agree with you, but if you have a solid plan moving forward, then I think that you can get to a point where the locker room could potentially be bought in, or at least see what you're trying to do and see the vision. If Steichen went in front of the team, for example, and was like, guys, we all love A-Rich. He came back from the injury maybe a little too soon. We are going to bench him for the next 2-3 weeks and have Joe take over the helm. And A-Rich is going to watch from the sidelines, learn a little bit more, and then we're going to throw him back in there. And we just need him to slow the game down a little bit and watch from the sideline. Do you blame them for doing that? I don't. But what happens is when you have Shefty tweeting out, oh, like, there's a seismic change in the organization. That's bad. That speaks to me, that language in that tweet pretty much speaks to me that the Colts have given up on the Anthony Richardson experience, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. You need to have him play. Now, he needs Anthony Richardson, no matter what, he needs to develop. But I will say one thing right now, the NFL will never be able to quit Anthony Richardson. He's too talented. He's too good. And you have seen now a resurgence of players in the NFL who have done a good job of going to their second, third, fourth team and being relevant. And that matters at this point. Geno Smith, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold. These guys are all really good examples of top picks who went to their team and it didn't work out. But they stuck with the process. They got better over time. And now you look at them, and I mean, Geno Smith, like, I think he leads the league in passing. Baker might lead the league in passing. They're like top 3, 5. Like, it's crazy. And Sam Darnold obviously is having a career year this year and keeping the Vikings like pretty relevant. I just don't see anytime soon the NFL giving up on a talent like Anthony Richardson. And we went through that long list of quarterbacks that Chris Ballard has gone through his career. There's a reason why you go through that many quarterbacks. It's because you're just not that good at picking them and or developing them. So I think another organization will be absolutely thrilled to be able to get their hands on like a talent like Anthony Richardson. And he's 22 years old. He's the youngest starting quarterback, was the youngest starting quarterback in the entire league until he got benched. It's time like over time, that is going to age poorly. I think Anthony Richardson will be a decent start in the NFL. I just think there could be a possibility that they've rushed him into it too quick. And I don't think that the Colts did a good job of showing their organization, their team, their players, Anthony Richardson, the real path and plan for why he would be successful in the NFL. And it seems like through 10 games, through less than 2 years, they are giving up on their number 4 overall pick. So I just wanted to really break that down, give my idea on the situation of like why there could be a better way to go about this instead of just like going out to the media, guys figuring out on Twitter. That should never happen. If I owned a team and that happened with my head coach or GM or whoever, I'd go ballistic. That is not the way that you handle things. It's 2024. That never goes well. So stop acting like it does. So that's all I got for today. I'm going to post this. Feels good to be back. We're going to post again next week. We're going to make some small changes. I'm happy I got the channel back. I was worried sick, but it feels good to be back. And I was trying to take, like I said, I was trying to take the week off, but I don't know. This Anthony Richardson stuff is absolutely crazy. So nice seeing everybody.
White clouds blowing out when we max 4-5, not the size, but it can go.